Ziggity zig, pulling out the Friday faff, which is, of course, Griffventures of Griff. So we check and see what's going on here, and holy crap, Griff's opponent, RicardoMoema. Let's just go with Ricardo. So there's Ricardo up at the top right of, I'm going to say, Condemned Ridge. And there's some GLHFs heading out there pretty quick, and they're pretty much on the exact same end of things. Yep, everything seems pretty fine. Griff quickly catching up to RicardoMoema's EPM, which is fair enough, because that's effectively what you want to do at this point in the early game, is there's not all that much going on. Now, the thing is, you can kind of piss around and do all sorts of weird things where you sort of box in all your units and do blah-blah-blah-blah, but at the same time, you really... there's not much to do, so why bother wasting it? Unless, of course, you're, trying to make sure that you have a really awesome EPM in a game. So, this is just a game, I forget what this one was called, actually. It was called something really weird, like Submission something or other. But anyway, here's the two of them going on their switches. Here's RicardoMoema's doing effectively the same thing, except, for some reason we can't actually see the route that Ricardo's taken. Oh, okay, so he only goes from one spot to the next, and then doesn't bother rallying whatsoever. Griff seems to have quite a number of, rally points and methods thereabouts. So, precisely on par now. In fact, Griff is only a little bit ahead. There's the 14 gas. Look at that. Gas, gateway, effectively the same. Pretty much exactly even on the probes as well. I think Ricardo might have chrono boosted one more time, where Griff seems to have some extra chrono boost. Now we're going to put some dudes in gas and see how it goes there. Yep, there goes a couple. And both gateways done. So next we're going to find out what happens next. Griff gets to the Cyber Core and a Zealot first. Ricardo is just sort of sitting on 175 minerals. I'm not sure quite what the point there. Goes for a Pylon first, which is intriguing. Griff's probably going to hit a Pylon right about now. There it is. Ricardo still no unit there. Goes to Cyber Core. So pretty standard openings from both players here. Now, as you can see, this game is, well, it's 22 minutes long, so maybe I will remove that just because it seems to get in the way. Ricardo's going to have a peek around in his base just to find out if there's any kind of traces of Griff in the nearby vicinity. Griff's just checking on his outer base. Not really doing a too wide of a search with the Zealot there, which you'd usually want to do if you're suspecting any kind of 4-gate, which at the point we are at now, there could be either 4-gate or 3-gate robo occasionally. Warp gate has started. Griff has not started warp gate. That's a little odd. Not quite sure. Ah, there we go. Because there is a Stargate on the way. So there's Griff's idea. Now, RicardoMoema is probably... there you go. So Ricardo's looking around for the 4-gate Pylon in the base. Now, on this map, a really good spot to have is down here, or actually right there, because then you can just warp in along there, and then you're really close to the door. But it's very difficult to go all the way out of your way to find that. Looks like just 3 gates at the moment for Ricardo. Griff's still continuing on with his idea, and this is probably going to be a Phoenix, I'm going to guess? Yes, it's a Phoenix. There it goes. There's another unit, so Griff is up to Stalker 2 Zealots, whereas Ricardo, I think, is only on Stalker 1 Zealot. Still pumping out the Warp Gate. Griff has still not even started his, which does seem a little bit odd. Could definitely afford it. I mean, there's a second gateway already, so... So what's the second gateway for? Got a sentry, nothing going on, chronoing out some Phoenix. Phoenix is going to go have a peek around, and where's the Phoenix headed? Just over there to the side corner. Now that he knows where Ricardo is actually sitting, that's when you can start doing things like that. Twilight Council and 4th gate attending, so therefore, looking at possibly, it does look pretty Blink Stalker heavy, so Blink Stalkers versus this kind of thing. Whereas at this point, Ricardo still has just seen the basics, and Griff has also just seen the basics, so neither are quite aware of what is going on. However, Griff does have a decent map awareness and ability at the moment, although research warp gates 50-50, how much can that be? I mean, he's been sitting pretty at 50-50 for a while, so that could have been warping things in. He's not actually bringing in any additional gateway units. It's just a solid, there we go, went straight for blink, a solid Phoenix play. But the interesting thing here is against, he's probably not going to have blink by the time he gets in super trouble here, but this is going to be not the greatest for Griff. I mean, it would be more optimal if he was going for maybe sort of just immortal play, 3-gate robo, but blink stalker play is definitely not what we were fully expecting. So there they go, and Ricardo's going to try to chase them, but Griff is going to get in here and get a couple of them, pick off one or two, the resources, try to stay out of Ricardo's way of the aggressors. Probably could have picked off one or two of those. Nah, no, not really, because by the time you picked up one of the stalkers, there we go, out of there without too much damages, and manages to grab 4 probes and quite a lot of mining time, which is probably pretty good. Now, if you go back to what Griff is actually doing in the meantime, Griff is grabbing in, there we go, warp gate is finally on its way. Blink is still heading in. There's an additional blink stalker. No upgrades for the blink stalker as far as weapons or armor. In fact, there go the Phoenixes moving in once more. And the blink stalkers aren't quite yet. Blink stalkers are now on their way. They're still hanging out up here in the top, probably because there's absolutely nothing down there. It would be really awesome to get down there and snipe off those sentries, which Griff has a tendency to do. I can tell you that because in one of our games, that's exactly what he did, and focused on my sentries, and it was really annoying. But here, Griff does manage to get the remainder of some gateway units just to kind of hold the door just in case something terrible happens, because it doesn't look like Ricardo's going to push out anytime soon. Ricardo's second base is up quite a bit earlier than Griff's. Meantime, Griff's still just sort of pressing the map, working on things. Griff getting quite a large supply of monetary funds, so once, well, you'd think once the warp gate is done, he'd be looking at a few more units here. There's a robo facility and a few more pylons just to avoid the pylon. The supply block comes in here. There's absolutely nothing in the way, which is kind of a shame. You could probably easily... Oh, nope. Tried to pick up that pylon. That didn't work too well. So here are... Aha! There's the sniping of the sentry. That works out quite well, as I believe, aside from the blink stalkers, there's really not a whole lot that Ricardo has in his army. So I want to have... definitely stick with the fighting the units that can attack air. This is the Soul Zealot, who's probably going to be not very useful in this matchup, but Ricardo's almost totally afraid to do anything at this point. There goes the photon cannon in the back. What I have found, mostly because I'm not all that good, is going up against a really, kind of an opening aggressive play of Phoenix, it's very difficult to figure out how to defend this. Blink Stalker is probably the best way to do it, and he just did that blind. So that was just going to be a pretty aggressive Blink Stalker build, you can mostly assume, since, as I was saying, when we were looking at those two builds occurring, Griff did not know that Ricardo was going Blink Stalker, and vice versa. Another sentry being warped in for Griff. So as far as the army supply goes, Griff is definitely looking very powerful right now, and there is... Wait, what? Ah, there we go. For some reason I just couldn't get rid of my army supply there. Okay, I don't think we saw anything there aside from the fact that Griff just sort of moved in and tried to do something about these photon cannons, but of course now with two photon cannons in the mixed and a couple more blink stalkers just to be on the defensive side, then there's not really all that much that can actually happen. Now, Griff is starting to move in with a bit of a forward pylon, and this is when the army starts to move out, and this army is actually doing quite a bit better than before. In fact, you know what? This is a game that I think I walked in on when Griff was playing, and I walked in, and I think at this point in the game, I might have just arrived at what was going on here. Ricardo is finally working on getting his second base up and running, so Griff did a very good job of maintaining. And there goes a probe for whatever reason. Griff decides to maybe do something about it, maybe not. Griff did very well. With the Phoenix, you do enough harassment that the second base does not become operational for quite some time. Meantime, you are able to get your second base up and running. So with that just micromanagement and or multitasking skills, then things go pretty well. This is when, aha, so Ricardo was... This is when you move out with your with your pylon. That seems interesting. Gonna go around and maybe make another one, or is he just gonna sit there? Let that one warp in and absolutely nothing else happen. So we're looking at a fair number of blink stalkers, but at the same time, Griff is definitely outnumbering as far as supply goes. So here comes a move up the ramp. Probably going to see a Guardian Shield on the way up, especially as you know that you're up against blink stalkers. Now, the other cool thing that you can do here is just one quick little force field there, bringing in the force. And yeah, there we go. So the Phoenix are lifting up just a few of the aggressors because that will remove some of the advancement. There is where the units loss tab and the different losses are definitely starting to work against Ricardo, where he just does not have the resources anymore. Griff does all right there. Probably could have used another Guardian Shield or maybe a Force Field or two just to stop those units from coming in any further. But the army supply is definitely way into Griff's favor. He's actually reinforcing quite a few more down here at one of his forward pylons. It's a very good job of pylons around the map. Ricardo with a quick warp in just there, just to turn the tides just for a few seconds, even though probably would have gone a little bit better had Griff brought his entire army with him. There's another pylon just to keep the unit field quite high. Now, the outnumbering has gone a little bit lower, but again, Protoss ground army, so it looks like these are 1-1 blink stalkers here, and Griff still with no upgrades whatsoever. No upgrades on the Phoenix as well. However, the Phoenix were quite useful in that exchange, just, well, really based on the fact that they can pick up some of the DPS. So it does reduce the DPS of Ricardo's blink stalker army. It looks to be now 2 pylons are happening down here, but Griff is pretty much sitting right outside of Ricardo's base. Still don't see any upgrades, but the upgrades do continue with the Twilight Council up. You can go straight into weapons and armor 2, but let's see if this slightly greater sized army can do anything against these blink stalkers. Picks up the Immortal in the back. Excellent move right there. In fact, I think when I was standing there I might have actually mentioned that, but Griff is doing it anyway because he does a very good job with these Phoenix. Just as utility units in the army composition, they're quite handy. If you were just going to do A moving, then yes, Void Rays are better, but Phoenixes are just so fast, especially in the early game, and Phoenixes can pick up and pick off at the same time quite a number of probes and stop quite a lot of this income. If you look at the income right now, that is Griff over top of Ricardo, and it's just pretty much game over at this point. Comes in, finishes him off. Not too many units left. It's only a supply of 8. He does have a great number of gateways. This is a good gateway complement, and it's all up there at the top because in the natural, he didn't quite have this defended yet, so he wants to keep all of his bases up in the front. Now, this is when something kind of odd happens. I'm keeping my eye down on the mini-map because if I remember correctly, I think there it is. There's the GG from Ricardo, but the issue is that he actually keeps playing. And he doesn't actually give up because there is the warp-in round right there of 7 Zealots. So 7 Zealots are now going to come in against Griff's base, but meanwhile, his army is taking this out pretty well. Now, there's very little in the way of income for Ricardo, but Ricardo decides to supply block Griff, trying to take down as many pylons as possible. Griff just pulls probes, tries to do something about this, brings in a few units, doesn't really have all that much because he just did full warp in up the top. And then we decide to see if there's anything we can do about bringing back the Phoenixes. I think is the one point that I sort of mentioned that, but I don't think there would have been all that much difference there. Now, it does take out, I believe, 4 of Griff's attacking units, but these probes are definitely very stuck down here. Not a whole lot going up here. Griff probably could have used one quick little aim. There is another large group of Zealots coming up, so now Ricardo does a preemptive GG, fakes Griff out, puts him in a state of, tries to lull him in a state of complacency, and then just does a ridiculous attempt at a base raise. Here's Griff's response. It's just to put up more crap in the way, so that he actually has to fight through it. Puts a few units right in there in the middle, gets a few more pylons just to keep that supply up, and then I think at some point here, there they go. There go the Phoenix. The Phoenix go back to hell. Because in the meantime, Griff is just moving his way up through here. There's absolutely nothing going on. There is 0 income coming in for Ricardo. Only able to bring in just another 2 Zealots, and that's just not going to be enough to get through here. because Griff's just got a few ranged units. Probably could have brought in one of those stalkers along in this end, done something to that effect, but these zealots are just not having that good of a time. They are going to manage to take out a few things, but the game is effectively over. Griff's taken out everything that needs to happen. He's just about to take out this base here. Ricardo's zealots are not quite as fortunate. Nothing going on. However, there are 10 of them, 9. Let's just see what the units lost are. So, Griff was losing just about as much as Ricardo, but the issue comes down to the income level and the amount of money. Griff is into a fair amount of money at this point, but it's just kind of becoming a little bit embarrassing that Ricardo decides that he still thinks that he's in this game now. Ricardo already being revealed, still thinking that he's still in this game. These Phoenix just need to pick up a couple more, just sort of one at a time. There's nothing that Griff can do. Actually, there is things Griff can do, because he's got these 3 warp gates right here, so he can warp in another 3 units. Meantime, he just decided to pick up these guys one at a time. There's only 2 zealots left, 1 zealot left, and gone. This zealot here has 3 kills, Phoenix 4, 2, 5, and 4. That's how you do things, not with a zealot, but with a bunch of Phoenixes. The rest of these units up here, 12 kills on that stalker. That's pretty awesome. 5 kills there. These sentries, hero sentries, got any kills on them? Ooh, 6 on one of them. So there's your hero right there with 12 kills. 2 hit points and full shields. That's the way to do things. Well, leave me a comment down below. Send me an email, ziggy@gmail.com, or you can follow me on Twitter, @ZiggyStarcraft. If you want any more of this faffing around from me and that guy Griff, you can come over to our other YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/lime-not-lemon. I have forgotten to take a drink of my water this entire time, and I'm feeling pretty dry. Just for fun, I'm going to spill a little bit of water on my keyboard. Live and learn. Stay tuned.